Everybody, welcome to another World Series champion episode of Phil and Mike. As always, I'm Darrin Michael, and with me, the man who just got back from handing out Mattress Mack's millions of dollars in Houston, Mr. Phil Cleese. Phil, how happy were his customers when they got that huge amount of money back from his bet?
And yeah, I mean, obviously thrilled, but we are talking about a guy who, after game three, looked like he might get arrested. So his fortunes have changed mightily from looking like he's fighting everyone at like 90 years old to not enjoying his game three experience in Philly to jubilant and excited. I don't know, to cash in what, 75 million
I just
after
like
game
those
six.
videos of you down in Houston. You just had the money and you're just money,
Hey
money,
man,
money, money, money.
hey, he's got a nice Posturepedic, and he's on his way. Old Mattress Mack.
And you know what? I wanted to congratulate you also because I know you and Mattress Mack go way back, and and you're such a believer that you also threw down money on that game, and you were handing that out also. So congratulations on betting $1 and winning 75. Congratulations, Phil.
That's right, man. That's right. Nice burger dinner on me tonight. Mattress Mack and Phil Calise, not in the same stratosphere economically. Nope. Nope.
That's
Nope.
right. They both have an uncanny way of predicting the future. So before we start and get into all that, there was a couple things I just want to tell you. One, I was so excited the other day. It was a cold morning. It was like in the 40s. I was shivering as I went to the bagel place to get bagels for the family. But all of a sudden, my heart was filled with warmth when I saw our boy and his cat sitting outside of Starbucks,
Oh, Catman.
snuggled together under a blanket, chilling with, of course, the leash on. I was so excited about that, man. It just, it warms my heart. It makes my day. It makes my life complete. Let's be honest. Seeing that guy, I've never spoken to him, but one of these days I'm going to, and I'm just going to be like, dude, you know what? I got nothing. I got nothing. So anyway,
I
so
absolutely
what?
love Catman.
Oh, he is the best. I got to get a picture with him one of these days. Hey, we
You gotta
talk
get
about
an
him on
updated
the
updated
podcast
photo.
quite often. All right,
Get an updated photo.
speaking of the cat man, I got a joke for you. I'm testing out another joke. Let me know what you think. All right, this is not my joke, but I still think it's a good joke. So I want to see your reaction, your authentic reaction when you're paying attention to me, which you're really not right now.
I am 100% locked in. I'm listening.
I know.
Let's go.
All right. All right. So an old man goes to church and is making a confession. He says,
Okay.
Father, I'm 75 years old. I've been married for 50 years. All of these years, I've been 100% completely faithful to my wife. But yesterday, I was intimate with an 18-year-old. Father says, when was the last time you made a confession? The man's like, dude, I'm Jewish. I've never made a confession before. The father says, well, why are you telling me this? The man says, Father, I'm telling everybody.
Spread the word. Oh boy.
Spread the gospel. 18
Whoa.
years old, baby. There we go.
Whoa. All right.
Anyway, so I thought that was funny. So anyway,
That's funny. It was humorous. You got to
I
chuckle
just
out of me.
wanted to say something else, and that is Darrin, Houston in 6, Phil, Houston in 7.
No, I had Houston in 5, to be honest.
Oh, was it Houston in 5?
Yeah, I had it even quicker.
Listen, it doesn't matter. I won.
You hit it. I mean,
beat you.
we both technically cashed in on that bet.
Yeah, I mean, you physically
You hit it on the head. Yep. You hit it on the head.
Your dollar bet was definitely cashed in. You know what I think we should do? I think before next season, we should make like a handful of $10 bets on who's going to win the World Series, and then see if we can get.
Maybe we should do that. I like that.
If you get good enough odds, I mean, you're probably going to make
Heck
money.
Yeah.
You just got to wait.
Yeah.
And check. Anyway,
well, can we do 30 seconds on the actual series?
I want to do a lot more than 30 seconds.
Okay. I thought you were going ahead. I thought you were moving on.
Yeah, no. Go ahead. I want you to give. Here's a couple things that I just wanted to throw out there.
Yeah,
and I want to get your thoughts on it.
Yep.
Number one, the Phillies' last 3 games. I mean, talking about a hot team that really, really went cold. In 27 innings, they had 9 hits and scored 3 runs. including
Mhm.
game 4. They got no hit, second time
Yep.
in World Series history. So that was big. I wanted to ask you about the MVP. All right, because I personally thought this was a little controversial. They gave it to Jeremy Pena, the rookie. He batted
Mhm.
410
Yep.
for 25, which is great. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
But was he really that valuable? That's what my thought is. He had 2 extra base hits, 3 RBIs, and a walk. Nothing, nothing fantastic. I mean, a great average, and that's a great series. But I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, Framber Valdez, 2-0, 12.1 innings pitched, 6 hits, 2 earned runs,
yeah.
18 strikeouts.
Mhm.
I mean, am I missing something here?
Can both be can both things be true at once? Like, you know how we give out the Cy Young and the MVP for that reason in a lot of cases, and the pitcher has to be just so great to be considered for both.
Yeah.
Pena was by far their most valuable hitter because Alvarez had the home run you're going to all remember, but Pena was like that consistent guy throughout the series. Altuve didn't hit great. Bregman had like 1 or 2 moments. Bregman had some decent moments, but
Right.
other than that, the Astros really didn't hit a ton themselves.
No, they didn't.
And Framber Valdez, yes, was money in the bank for Framber. Um, I could go either way with it because I like that would be my other choice for MVP. So I wouldn't go when I actually think of the entirety of the playoffs, and that's not the vote. I think it's also kind of split. They both were really good.
They were. They
Pena was
were.
just more surprising because Framber Valdez you expect to be really good. Um, I could go either way. I think it's like pick your poison in terms of was there like the definitive moment where he won him the series pitching wise? Like he was really good. I didn't take away he was like locked down deep into the game dominant pitcher. Like
Yeah.
sometimes when you think of World Series, there's a guy who goes 8 and just puts the team on his back and dominates. He didn't do that. But in a series where there wasn't any totally overwhelming, clear cut, dominant player, he definitely could have been the MVP. And
Yeah.
I think from an offensive perspective, Pena was the more steady rock choice to be the MVP. So I think it was either way. I usually have a stronger opinion, but I really think it's close. I think it's close between the two.
Yeah, I look at the importance of hitting. I mean, yeah, he got on base, which is great, but like when I think of
Well, he also
MVP,
made some big plays defensively too.
it's true. It's
He did.
true.
He had a few moments where he made some big time plays. So he did do that as well.
It's true. It's true. I just think that the media, the people that were voting on him, just kind of fell in love with him after the championship series, and then it's the whole fascination where in Dusty Baker's first game as a manager, the first batter that his team faced was Jeremy Pena's father.
That's
So
funny. Yeah,
it's
there
like
was
the
a
whole
narrative, but
nostalgia.
usually now listen, the Astros were by far the favorite coming into the series. They were they
Yep.
were they were 1-1A with the Dodgers in terms of best records all year and most dominant teams. But inevitably, a lot of these World Series do come down to who's the guy you don't totally expect to dominate a series that ends up being the guy that helps win it. And with Altuve being very inconsistent throughout the playoffs, and be honest, you're going to remember the 2 most gigantic home runs being from Alvarez, the Mariner home run and then the game 6 home run. Alvarez did nothing in between that. He
That's true.
had 2 big moments, and that was basically his entire postseason. Now, God bless, because they were 2 gigantic moments, but he was not the MVP of any series.
That's true. That's
So
true.
when I think Bregman did have some big hits, but I think Pena was like rock solid, and he was not the guy you would go in and go, on the Astros, the guy that's probably going to be the best player is Pena, and he really kind of was
Yeah. Yeah.
in terms of the offense. So I thought that was interesting. Obviously, I have a bias. I'm a Met fan. Very happy that the Phillies didn't win it, but I have to say, maybe it's something weird about me. I genuinely like underdogs.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to start there. I'm a Met fan and a Jet fan. So by nature, I tend to skew towards the underdog and the team. I don't root for a bunch of powerhouse teams typically.
True.
But what I don't love in a baseball season, because it's 162 games and because it's very unique to every other sport.
Yeah.
When an NFL team sneaks into the playoffs and goes hot, gets on a hot run, it's kind of cool, right? Like I don't mind it because the nature of football is it's one and done each week, and you can get 3 upsets and get to a Super Bowl. Like
Yeah.
we've seen the Jets almost do it 2 years in a row. The Giants won a Super Bowl by being the 6th seed and going all the way. The Packers, nobody realizes this with Aaron Rodgers, their championship was as a 6th seed. They were not a dominant team. That was pre-winning all those divisions. So like, I like the story in the NFL. I hate it in baseball because the 162 games is supposed to be the separator of like the really good teams. And when they water it down with wild card play and then they add an extra team, and then the Phillies are the beneficiary of said extra team. And then I watch them just guys like Nick Castellanos and you know, Alec Bohm, whatever his name is, and some of these guys that, you know, Reese Hoskins, these guys are 210 hitters all season long. And they do have power, but they get to the postseason and somehow just become, you know, clones of Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
And they get all the way to the World Series. And it's like, dude, I watched you play all year. You guys kind of sucked all year. You were like a little better than average. Honestly, they won 87 games in a 162 game season. They were a little better than average, you know, 81 and 81's average. So they were a little better than average. And you get there and it's like, I needed the Astros to beat them. Just to be like, they deserve to win a World Series. So it just felt good for me. It's like, okay, the world was restored a little in the MLB sense that every year you're going to get a bunch of these teams in the postseason with 7 teams in each, you know, you're going to get it, but give me a little, I mean, 6 teams in each, but give me a little stability in the end. The Astros regain the stability. One pet peeve though, the Astros are not a dynasty.
You don't think so?
They're not a dynasty. This idea, I've heard this talked about so much. They've won 2 in 6 years. The core of the first team, arguably, is not even the core of this team. You cannot call it a dynasty when you've only won 2 in a 6-year span, and the best players in the game in the 2022 season, at least 3 of them weren't even on the 2017 team. Pena won the MVP. He was one of the most big players on the team. Framber Valdez and Jordan Alvarez were not on that team.
But maybe
that's just too much of a leap for me.
Maybe that's what makes the team a dynasty and not the
No, but the team has to have the commonality of the players to be a dynasty.
No, the commonality is the team. They all wear the same. Agree. They all have the Astros on their chest. That's the commonality.
Well, even if you throw away my argument about the players being the key piece to that equation, 2 in 6 years is too spread apart.
Hey, who's the
no,
last?
It's just too spread apart. It's too spread apart. I won one in 17 and I won one 17 and 22. It's 2 in 6 years too far.
Let me ask you this. Who's the last dynasty in your eyes?
In baseball?
In baseball, yes. Who's the last dynasty? Give us something to compare it to.
I think it's fair to look at one of 2. The Giants won 3 in a, I believe, 8-year span where they won even years like 10, 12, and 14, or I think that was the Giants. So maybe 3 in 6 years. You could correct me if I'm wrong. I think the San Francisco Giants won 3 in a 6 or 7 year span. That is now, I don't remember people going crazy about calling them a dynasty because I think they had a couple of years in that period where they weren't great.
See, and but
they won 3. But they won 3.
That's the difference between you and I. When I think of dynasty, I think of consistent play. I don't think of up and down and winning World Series. You're looking at
but it's hard to wait. Hold on a second.
Like to
you
me,
win 3 championships in 6 years. You could have a bad year in between that, and you're still awesome.
Oh, I didn't say you're not awesome, but that's not, to me, that's not a dynasty. A dynasty is greatness for an extended period of time. Yes,
you got to define greatness though, because if you get bounced in every postseason and you get upset in a few of these World Series where the Braves were not the favorite last year and the Nationals were not the favorite in 19, then when does it become you didn't actually deliver on your, you know what I mean? Like, well, dynasty means championships. It doesn't mean we got, well, are the Bills a dynasty? 4 years in a row in the Super Bowl. Are they a dynasty? They won 0.
They're a dynasty in the AFC.
I'll agree with that. Because in the AFC, they were great 4 straight years.
What it comes down to your definition of what a dynasty is. And to me,
mine is closer to right.
I didn't realize that there was a definition that's correct because I think it can be viewed by different people. Like, to me, I don't think that you have to win the World Series to be a dynasty.
Oh, well, would you just totally lose me with that?
I
So you could
don't.
be a career almost ran and be a dynasty? No
I
way.
think,
No way.
like the Braves who won like 15
You
division
lost me.
championships in a
And they're
row.
known as being a team that never could close the deal.
That doesn't mean that they weren't a dynasty in the NL.
Well, you're going to redefine it. Now you're talking about they're an AFC, they're a National League East dynasty. Amazing. They were amazing.
Three World Series in 6 years when you're not a great team every year.
So I'm pulling it up. The
dynasty.
Giants won it in 2010, 2012, 2014. 3 and 6 years. I don't remember.
I'm not saying that's not impressive.
No, I'm not saying anybody actually called them a dynasty either. And I might not have even been trumpeting the fact that they were a dynasty. I'm just saying 3 and 6 years is better than 2 and 6 years.
I mean, so, if I'm looking at it from your definition, then I'm going back to the Yankees back when, you had, what were their teams? I mean, in the 30s, the 50s.
No, if you're going to go by
where they truly were winning World Series after World Series. That is truly a definition of a dynasty then in your case.
If we're going to bypass the Giants and say 3 and 6 years isn't a dynasty because they actually might have missed the playoffs 1 or 2 of those years in between. If we're going to throw them out, you could go to the Red Sox and say they won it in 04, 07, 2013 and 2018, but it's just such a wide span. So it's kind of hard to put them in that because it's 4 in 14 years. But there was a lot of ups and downs in there because it's 14-year period.
Yeah.
And totally not the same teams. So then if you're really going to go to definite dynasty, it's the Yankees of the late 90s. They won 4 and 5 years.
There you go. Then that's
for sure the dynasty. 4 and 5 years.
Well, then truly the only dynasties in baseball, if we're looking at it from that perspective, are the Yankees of all time.
5 years. 4 and 5 years.
And then a couple of their previous teams that they had. Those are the only dynasties.
No. And then there's one other dynasty, the Oakland A's in the early 70s, 3 in a row.
Yeah, that
was the Reggie Jackson. Was Eckersley there? No, maybe.
No, that was before Eckersley.
But it was Reggie Jackson. It was that team's escaping me right now.
Raleigh Fingers.
Ricky Henderson, not yet.
Vita Blue was on that team.
Raleigh, yeah.
Bert Campaneris. They didn't have the Hall of Fame teams that you would.
But three straight, yeah.
But yeah. Listen, they were great. They were they had some really good pitching,
and it was backed up by 2 straight years of the Reds, by the way. After that.
Yeah.
So I mean, no, there's not a ton of dynasties.
Especially
if we don't count the Giants, who did win 3 and 6 years, and don't count the Astros. Now, can I say this? I'll grant you something with the Astros. If they win back-to-back titles, I would put them in the dynasty category. 3 and 7 years with the amount of success they had. I think they need a third to get into the dynasty. 2 isn't enough. Right. There's a lot of teams that won 2.
Let's just agree on this point. Houston is a great team, and as of right now, they're the most consistent winning organization in baseball. How's that?
Absolutely. Because the Dodgers haven't been able to cash in on any of these.
So I got a question for you, and then we're gonna get off this topic. Dusty Baker finally wins his first World Series as a manager after 3,884 games. He was the manager of the year in 93, 97, 2000, and who knows, maybe this year.
Yep.
25 years as a manager, 19 years as a player. People forget he had 1,900 hits, he had 230 home runs, and he had over 1,000 RBIs. Does this put Dusty Baker in the Hall of Fame? He finally won that World Series ring. Now can he go in with everybody else?
Certainly, maybe not Dusty, but his toothpicks. They should go into the Hall of Fame. He should have got a toothpick brand. He should have gotten a brand deal out of that.
Yeah,
the guy's been chewing hardcore on toothpicks for 50 years.
Yeah.
How he never had one get stuck in the old esophagus, I don't know, but
yeah. So I
put him in. I'd put him in longevity and winning the ring. I'd put him in.
I think he gets in. He had some success as a player. He had some big success as a manager, and and he had that huge event where his young son ran out onto the field to pick up the bat during the middle of a play. Remember that in the World Series?
Yep. Yeah.
That's what I think of Dusty Baker for. But I think he's a good guy, and I think he deserves to get in. So congratulations, Dusty. Finally, you did it. Let's move on to some college football.
Let's do it.
Phil, after you just started off the season so hot, dude, you have not been good. Let's just be honest, man. 1-2 this week, 0-1 in your best bet. Are you just falling apart at this point? What's going on with you?
Well, I wanted to actually have my NFL record match my college record. So I crept down in college just to get back to being consistent, because more than being right, I want to be consistent.
I mean,
so now I'm almost looking at identical college and pro records, which the pro side is moving up, the college side's moving down.
You're 1-5 in your last 2 weeks on college, and granted, you're still 15-11-1, so you're still having a really
shabby.
great year.
It's not shabby, but it's definitely trending down. And look, I make my biggest best bet of the year against Notre Dame, and they just blew the doors off Clemson. So I feel like a buffoon, because I could have just picked my team and had a win.
Listen. I've gotten a lot of hate emails of guys that have really made a lot of money with you in college football. And Brian from Cleveland said, if Phil puts together another week like these last 2 weeks, I'm going to come to his house and pummel him. So
you know what? Not as bad as Cindy in Vermont, who said, "Go F yourself with your picks." So they're getting a little abrasive on me, these people. I can't be right all the time. I'm sorry.
You also had Big Al from Sacramento saying, "Hey Phil, keep your head up. I know you can do it this week." So at least Big Al is in your corner. So you're feeling pretty good. So let's just talk a little bit about college football last week, because
what a week, right? What a week.
I mean, the college football season has been crazy, but last week, let's be honest, last week was just nuts. There's a few things that I wanted to just talk about. I want to get your thoughts on. For one, UGA 27 beating the number 1 ranked, I'm going to say number 1 loosely ranked, Tennessee
at home. Yep.
To 13. Here's my question for you. Does this show you that UGA is by far and away the best college football team there is this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very impressive win when you look at, obviously, the potential of Tennessee. Why is my screen blinking out of control? Do you see this, or am I the only one?
No,
okay, stop. Now
yours
is, I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing not to say great about Georgia, right? Like, I thought this would be a trickier game. I liked getting the 8 points. I thought Georgia would win, but listen, it's a great performance. College football is a mess right now in terms of, like, when people like the stability of, like, these 4 teams are the best, you're not getting that right now. Nobody truly believes TCU is one of the 4 best teams. We all have jokingly mocked Michigan's schedule as being one of the worst schedules of all time, because they decided to schedule such a bad out-of-conference schedule that even at 9-0, coming off of their 35-point win at Rutgers, it's really hard to, like, sink your teeth into any big Michigan wins. So there's a big question mark on Michigan. And then you get to Ohio State, who I do think has had a couple of games where you don't love what they did. Like, why did they beat 1-8 Northwestern 21-7 this past Saturday? I have no idea. I think
it was 7-7 going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was 14-7 midway through the fourth. So like 14-7 midway through the fourth on a 1-8 Northwestern team obviously is a head scratcher, but they're clearly number 2 right now, I guess. So yeah, I mean, right now it looks like it's Georgia and everyone else, which, okay. I mean, listen, we have a unique situation where Alabama, folks, is out. They're done, because they also got some crappy wins on their schedule where they should have lost to Texas. We could play this game. Alabama could have 4 losses this year easily. They have 2. They could have 4. They're not playing for the SEC title, let alone the playoff. So I think that's cool and refreshing that they're gone, but it's a weird year. There's no clear great teams except Georgia.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, and you mentioned OSU. I mean, I look at that game and I'm thinking they're beatable. I think that Northwestern almost figured out a way to beat them. And I think if other teams pay attention, the thing that I don't like, I mean, OSU is a good team. Okay, I'm not going to say
every year they have 5-star recruits.
They're a good team. I don't think they're a great team. I think Stroud is not as good as people think he is. And I agree with you about Michigan. And you know what? This Ohio State Michigan game, which is coming up on the 26th,
it decides a playoff spot. So it really doesn't matter squabble in between the two. The winner's going to make the playoff.
But not only that, I mean, as long as these 2 teams don't lose between now and then, they're both probably going to make the playoff anyway.
Oh, both?
Because how many teams have they
No,
taken? They're
they're
taking
not.
6
I
teams.
disagree wholeheartedly.
See, I don't know who else
No
is
way.
gonna, I don't know who else is
Michigan's
going to
played
squeeze in.
no schedule this year. Michigan has to be undefeated with the schedule they've played.
Mm.
They cannot get in with a loss.
Well,
I
listen,
don't agree because they
I,
wouldn't even get to play in their own division. They wouldn't even get to the Big Ten title. I would find you. I'll say this: it's been a chaotic year. If more chaos arises after, let's say, Ohio State beats Michigan, if more chaos arises, could a 11-1 Michigan team who doesn't even play in the Big Ten title game make it? It would take a lot because then you're telling me the second best SEC team isn't making it over Michigan. I think they are. And so then it becomes USC would get in over Michigan. If USC goes 12-1 and wins the Pac-12, they're getting in over Michigan.
that's a big if.
So
It's a big if.
no, I know, but I'm just saying I'm giving you teams like listen, I don't think TCU is good, so I don't think they're getting in. I would even listen, Notre Dame did amazing for a lot of teams by whooping Clemson because they didn't just beat Clemson, they blew them out. And so that's going to be a hard team to put into the playoff now.
I think
they really hurt their stock. They don't have a lot of big wins, and now they lost to Notre Dame, who didn't have a great year this year. So
I'm looking at that game, and I remember Notre Dame was up 14-0 through 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden both teams decided to score a gazillion points.
Yeah, well, again, because I did watch the game, it was it 14-0 after? Yeah, it was 14-0 going into the fourth. They scored right away to go up 21-0. They did score a touchdown, one legitimate touchdown, Clemson. It was 21-7. Notre Dame had a pick six to make it 28-7. Then they had another touchdown to make it 35-7, and Clemson scored at the very end of the game. So it was a legitimate 3-score, 4-score differential, at least 3-score. It was a blowout. Clemson scored with like a minute left. So like they scored the real garbage touchdown, or else it was 35-7. That loss, because of how it was, Clemson may be out. They may have no path to a playoff. Because USC and Oregon have one loss apiece. The Pac-12 has been on the wrong side of this playoff system for years. There's going to be a feeling of getting one of these two teams in the playoff this year. If one of them goes 11-1 and then face each other to go to the playoff, the winner's making it, especially in a down year this year. They're going to put the Pac-12 champ in. So I think the second SEC team, the Pac-12 champ, the winner of the Big Ten title, and Georgia are your 4 teams if I had to pick. I don't see a path for the loser of Ohio State, Michigan getting it.
Yeah, but aren't there 6 teams that make it?
No, 4. Where'd you get 6 from?
Why did I think it was 6? It's only 4?
Yeah, that's it. They haven't moved. They're going to go to 12 at some point, but that's just 4.
They need to expand that because 4 is just
well, it's going to 12 at some point, but I don't know when.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's exciting. The one other game that I wanted to touch on, which I thought was funny. I don't know if you had heard about this. Did you hear anything about the SMU Houston game?
God, no.
The final score of this game was 77-63.
Solid.
Yep. No overtimes. So this was all
can't be an overtime with a 14-point lead. Yeah.
That's true. But I'm just saying, the score was 56-35 at the half.
Competitive.
All right. You've got SMU, their quarterback, Tanner Mordecai. 28 for 37. 9 touchdown passes.
9 touchdowns.
No interceptions and 1 rushing. All right.
Holy frick.
Houston, Clayton Tune, 36 for 53, 527 yards, 7 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions, and 2 rushes. So all in all in this game, right, there were 16 touchdown passes. There were 20 total touchdowns scored, and there was 1 punt. All right. So I'm going to go out there on a limb and say these two teams aren't really good at playing defense, but that's just me. Anyway, I thought that was pretty incredible. Tanner Mordecai, he gets if there was a college football game ball of the week, he accounted for 10 touchdowns last week.
Yeah, and can we just, we can't get off college football without at least spending 60 seconds on the LSU-Alabama game. I know we talked about how Alabama is eliminated, but the reality of the situation is this is and I'm not a Brian Kelly guy. He left Notre Dame to go to LSU. It's why he left Notre Dame to go to LSU. For the people that didn't have kind of crapped on him for 6 months now, LSU has those elite athletes on the field that can compete with Alabama more easily than Notre Dame. It's just period, the end. this argument that somehow, like, listen, it's true. And now they do have 2 losses, LSU, but in
Yep.
his first year at LSU,
Yeah.
anybody who thought Brian Kelly wasn't a really good coach, shut up.
Yeah.
I never doubted him being a really good coach. I always was frustrated that they didn't win the big game at Notre Dame. And I think he didn't always put them in the best position in those spots. But
Yep.
oftentimes he was clearly working with the lesser talented team in the big game. I'm not
Yep.
talking about how they would do really good winning 10, 11 games most years. But
Yep.
in the really big game against those elite schools, they struggled. And I think it's pretty clear to see it was a little bit of a talent issue.
Yeah.
It wasn't a coaching issue. And he gets to LSU, and listen, it was a gutsy go for 2 in overtime call. I love that call.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of playing 57 overtimes. Why not just go for 2 right away? He knew his team was tired. They were on fumes. It was a great game. And he's like, the hell with it. I could lose in 7 overtimes, or I could lose after the first overtime and get this over with, and vice versa. I could win right now. Let's just go win. So I love it. And I do think Nick Saban hasn't done a great job this year. I think it's fair to say that. They just haven't done a great job. You know, they got all 5-star recruits.
Well,
they could almost have 4 losses this year. It's not his best coaching job.
Let me tell you something. I mean, I watched most of the Alabama games, and I watched this entire game, and the play of the wide receivers is so disappointing to me because their wide receivers every year are fantastic.
Yeah.
These wide
they might have
receivers
gotten a little spoiled though by like the amount of absurd ones they've had for the last decade, because they're all great in the NFL. So
you've expected it, you know, and it's been that way. These wide receivers are terrible. Their defense is just a step slower than everybody else. They're just not a great football team.
Well, they're giving up a lot of points. I mean, Tennessee put 50 on them.
Yeah.
LSU does not have a great offense and scored over 30. I mean, they've definitely had some defensive issues. And listen, the quarterback that everybody wanted to anoint off his Heisman, he was 50% completions last.
Yeah, right. And I put a lot of
I'm
that.
not saying, listen, well, some of it's on him though.
I see a lot of it is that he tends to just have to throw the ball away because his receivers just aren't open.
Maybe. Yeah.
And so instead of throwing a pick, he's making passes, and you can clearly see that the accuracy is, you know, you might say, oh, his accuracy's off. He's not hitting these guys. No, these guys aren't open. That's really the problem.
Yeah, maybe.
So, anyway,
he gets to see how the other half lives once in a while because he's been spoiled by some of the greatest players ever. So
yeah.
And his numbers are still really good. It's still Alabama. But
listen, he's still a great player, but you know, you gotta look at the whole body of work. They're just not the typical Alabama.
Listen, I know you like Alabama for whatever reason. I don't know. You moved to that area and you became an Alabama fan, or you're just a fair weather fan, whatever it is. But like, it is refreshing for college football to have a team out that's always there. It's important for the sport to not have them win every single year, and not be in the playoff this year is like a good step towards a little diversity in teams.
It's different. It's different.
All right. It's important that they have it once in a while.
All right, let's go on to Phil's big 3. You ready to make some picks? Big Al is looking for you to make some money this week.
A Big Al, let's go. We're going. All right, so this week there's not like I'm picking 4 games this week, by the way. Ooh. I got a little wrinkle. But I'll stick to the idea that I'm trying to pick whatever is kind of the better game. So we'll go with the first one being, of course, Alabama's got to be in it. I mean, it's Alabama Ole Miss. 9 versus 11, according to the playoff. I don't know. I guess they're the 9th and 11th best teams. Alabama's got to travel down to Mississippi. So part of me wants to go, they're going to blow the doors off Mississippi. They're angry. They're this and that. Here's a little bit of a different take. When Alabama now can't talk to their kids about a guarantee that if they just win out, they make the playoff.
Yep.
Let's see how these uber academically dominant, wonderful human beings at Alabama without a playoff to play for come out and play this week. I think this is going to be a tough game for Saban to get them motivated, because I don't think they're going to be this is going to be the first time there's complacency in that locker room. They're not going to make the playoff, and you get 12 points. I like Lane Kiffin. I think he's a little too cute for himself at times, but I think he could keep this game close. I don't love Alabama's defense, so I think Ole Miss can score. And if they could put up in the mid-20s, 12 points might be a tough number to cover. So I'm going to take Ole Miss plus 12.
Okay.
Second game. And I know this is my classic game. Texas is 7 points favored over the number 4 team. So we know right there that they're really not the number 4 team, right? My voice is getting loud. I'm getting a little excited because there's no way that should be the spread when the 18th best team, again, due to the rankings, with 3 losses, are 7 points favored playing a in-state rival who happens to be number 4. But there's reasons for it. TCU probably has half their team couldn't play for Texas. They couldn't even get in to play for Texas. They wouldn't get a scholarship. So we get that. We get that it's the big brother versus versus little brother. But I'm going to take this chance that TCU is getting this spread thrown in their face all week by their coach, saying, are you effing kidding me that you're 7-point underdogs against this team? And so I'm going to take TCU +7, and they might lose a heartbreaker, and they'll probably lose this game because Vegas knows more than I do. But I'm going to take the 7 points because I think they go out guns a-blazing against this team, and it's still an in-state rival. Texas can't be 7 points favored in this game.
I don't know. It's crazy.
So my theme is all underdogs. Okay. So I'm going to go with an upset special.
Okay.
It's an upset special. The spread's actually not big. So, but bear with me here when I make the pick. LSU, off of the best win they've had in a few years, is not going to have an easy time coming right back to go to Arkansas to play Arkansas. This is just a tricky game in general after they've been celebrated and put on a pedestal for the whole week. And so Arkansas gets 3.5 points at home. And I'm not saying they're the better team. Clearly, LSU is the better team. This is just a sneaky hunch that LSU just has trouble being motivated off of that win. And this is a letdown game. And so maybe LSU survives it because they've survived a few games this year, but the 3.5 gives me, I feel good about the 3.5. And then my best bet, and it's been all underdogs, and I'm sticking with the theme. So my best bet is, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit not as high on Oregon, but they've burned me a couple times this year, but now they're just a mega massive spread. And I think Oregon's good, but 13.5 against a pretty good in conference rival just seems like too much to me. I think Washington's always scrappy. I don't love that they're on the road in the game, but it is like not a far travel game. And I don't know, something tells me it's just going to be a close game. Oregon's not going to steam their way to the playoff. They're going to have a hiccup along the way. And I think it's a hiccup in that it's a really close game and Washington, maybe loses close. So I'll take 13.5 with Washington. So it's an all underdog week for me. I'm going out blazing with 4 underdogs. So we'll see how that goes.
I love it. Well, that sounds good. I know Big Al is hoping for the best. Let's run into a little NFL, and I wanted to start off with an interesting stat, and this is a stat about Tom Brady. All right, and this is just a way to show you how, if you're creative enough, anything can become an incredible stat. All right, so you tell me your thoughts. Tom Brady is the first quarterback in NFL history to drop to 3-5 in his 23rd NFL season on Thursday Night Football, while the temperature outside was 82 degrees on the 27th of October, while the wind was blowing from the north, wearing red uniforms before getting divorced the next day.
That's a pretty impressive stat you pulled.
So that is the stat of the week with the NFL. All right, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's probably the last time it's going to be the first and last time that stat ever happens.
I like it.
I think so. So let's get into it. I got a few things that I want to run by you. Starting off with the Chicago Bears. Just a doormat the entire season. So the last 2 games, they've actually been able to score some points, 29 and 32 points. Granted, they've lost both games, but last week's loss, 35-32, was not a terrible loss. They actually covered. I want to talk about Justin Fields. 17 for 28, 123 yards, 3 touchdowns. More importantly, no interceptions. And he also had 15 carries for 178 yards and 1 rushing touchdown, which that is the record for most rushing yards by a quarterback in a game in history. Is he finally getting better? Is he finally figuring out after a year and a half what to do? And are we going to start seeing some consistency out of this guy? And are the Bears kind of on their way up?
That's a lot of I don't knows, right? The Bears are they've been shaky. They did some weird things. They added some offensive talent at the trade deadline. They traded some defensive talent at the trade deadline. I think any really mobile running quarterback can have pockets of times during a season where they can be a pain in the ass, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Justin Fields presents enough challenges to a defense that when he's getting out of the pocket and he's able to use his legs, it creates a little bit of the passing game. And like if he's the perfect version of Justin Fields any 1 or 2 weeks, I think can be tricky for a team, right? And that's the nature of all running quarterbacks. When they're putting it
Yeah.
all together, you have to keep him in the pocket. You got to kind of keep him like a pocket passer, which he really doesn't want to be. I know he did it at Ohio State, but again, we always make the joke. He was throwing passes to guys open by 20 yards, and in the NFL, that doesn't happen. So he wants to use his legs. He wants to get out. I think there's a good version of Justin Fields that can be a decent NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
I think the consistency is always going to be a challenge for him. I think he's going to throw in some head scratchers where you go, he took 2 steps back after I thought he was getting better. I think that's going to be a little bit of what Justin Fields is. The franchise isn't particularly great. They also don't have a good defense anymore. They've traded away most of their defensive talent. So I think when you put the whole picture together, I think he's going to kind of be what he is. I think he's going to be up and down, and we'll see in a few years if he can level that out. But I don't have huge hopes for Justin Fields.
Okay. Fair enough.
Nor any Ohio State quarterback, as you know.
Yeah. Believe me, I know. Number 2, Seahawks. They won their 4th in a row, beating the Cardinals in Arizona 31-21.
Yep.
My question surrounds Geno Smith. All right. Here he is midway through the season. He's completing 73.1% of his passes, 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 107.2 rating. Is this guy a legitimate MVP candidate this year?
Oh, you went a little far with that one. I thought you were going to say is he a legitimate. I thought you were going to say is he a legitimate starting NFL quarterback, and I was going to concede that.
I don't know. He's playing
MVP.
Really good
Holy, have you lost your marbles? He's listen. He's the NFL comeback player of the year, and I don't care if he came back from nothing but his own suckiness, but that should be for sure. He's had an amazing year. The bar was incredibly low, but he's had an amazing year. All things being equal, they have a very good chance. I mean, they should have every reason to believe they could beat a very mediocre Tampa team. They're 6-3. They could get to 7-3. He's been awesome. They got every reason to believe they could win the NFC West right now.
That's right.
But saying all that, I don't think any of those things are going to happen. Matter of fact, I don't think they're going to beat the Bucks this week. I don't think they're going to win the NFC West. But I do think he'll win comeback player of the year for sure. And he's had an amazing year. But I think there's a major hiccup coming in the Seattle Seahawks season. That's just my prediction. I'm going to go by track record. Geno Smith is 32 years old. Did he just figure out how to be a good NFL quarterback, or is he caught lightning in a bottle and it's all kind of come together? Plus, they got some talent at receiver. DK Metcalf is awesome. Tyler Lockett. I mean, they got some talent there. They got the Kenneth Walker, the running back, the first-year kid from Michigan State. So they got talent around him. It's not like they don't.
Now I'm gonna disagree with everything you say, and I also think the comeback player of the year is going to be Saquon Barkley. But I'm just putting it out there.
Well, I just meant for suckiness to greatness. I'm just saying.
So listen, whatever happens, it's unbelievable that the Seahawks get rid of their franchise quarterback who's been so great for them, and then they bring in this guy who's been a journeyman for the last 10 years, and now all of a sudden their team is turned around. It's just it's a feel-good story. Nothing more. Yeah. Number 3, Kenneth Walker. I know you just mentioned him. In his last 5 games, he's got 512 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, this is a guy.
In fairness, he was out the first 3 or 4 weeks. He was hurt.
Well, no, he wasn't out. Penny was the starter. Penny got injured, so they brought him in.
Yeah, but Walker, I think, was also hurt, but that's neither here nor there.
Whatever the case is this guy going to end up being the top offensive rookie this year?
Well, Pierce has got a lot to say about that, the running back on the Texans.
And Pierce is a good player.
Because Breece Hall would have won it hands down. And then
Walker's coming on really,
it's the 3 backs. It's the 3 backs. I mean, Garrett Wilson, I don't think is going to ascend to that, but he's still got something to say about it before it's over. But the 3 backs, now I'm saying 3 because Breece Hall went out, but those 3 kids all look like they were kind of studs. And I think Walker's got a shot. And Walker has a shot over Pierce if he can play similar. I know Pierce had a head start because Walker wasn't the man for the first weeks.
Yeah.
Walker's going to do it on a winning team. So I know that doesn't always matter for that award, but he's going to get more spotlight if Seattle keeps winning because the Texans stink. So
that's true. And I mean, Pierce has had
a monster year.
Yeah, Pierce has had a good year. I mean, he's got 678 yards rushing. But he's only got 3 touchdowns. He's
Well,
averaging,
the Texans don't score touchdowns.
yeah, when MIxon gets the ball, remember he only has 111 carries versus Pierce's 148. So, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, it right now it looks like there's a pretty good rookie running back class. I mean, very rarely do you see 3 potential guys playing well right away. So it's number 4, the Jets, our Jets beat
Yes.
beat the Bills 20-17, 12.5 point spread. Unbelievable. So my question is this about the Jets. Did they finally figure out how to beat the NFL top teams? And do you think that this is actually a playoff team?
Did they figure out how to beat? Oh, they did. Just do it. So yes, the answer is
are they?
Yes.
I mean, they do have a tough schedule the rest of the way. Are they going to be able to? Are they going to be able to put together more victories after they've been able to beat arguably one of the best teams in football?
Oh yeah, and the Bills were most people's choice to win it all. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Even though the Eagles are undefeated, most people think the Bills are the more dangerous,
Yep.
more likely team to win it all than the Eagles, let's say. So the Bills or Chiefs are still most betting guide teams to win it all. Most impressive thing, and it's the way to beat Josh Allen, and it would be the way to beat Patrick Mahomes, is pressure up the middle.
Yep.
The Jets actually have a front that can do that. Quinnen Williams has 7 or 8 sacks this year. He's had a uber monster year. He's just a hair below Donald for dominant. Like, he's that good. He moves. I know you don't get to watch the Jets every week. You can visibly see the pile get moved towards the quarterback every other play with him. So, and he gets double teamed a lot, and he still is a problem. So he frees up the edge guys who they don't have stud edge guys, but they got quantity. They got solid enough guys, and they rotate them a lot, like the Niners used to do under Saleh. So they can be a problem in the front. And the difference that Saleh didn't have on the Niners, who do have the better edge guys than the Jets do, but the difference is they got 2 studs at corner, the Jets. Sauce Gardner is a stud, and DJ Reed turned out, I know he signed a free agent deal and Seattle let him go because he was short. He's a stud.
Yeah, he's playing
They're
great.
locking people down. They don't move. Like, Sauce doesn't go cover the number 1 guy. He stays on his side, and DJ Reed stays on his side, and they just cover whoever lines up with them. They both have had monster years. So all of a sudden, it's like, wait a second. You got a deep front 7, particularly a front line that goes 7 deep. And then you got 2 stud corners. So can they beat anybody? They can beat anybody on any given game. And like, if you said, oh, the Bengals, they match up with the Bengals. They could put Sauce on Jamar Chase, and they could put whatever the other guy on Higgins. And it's they can match up with any team.
Yeah.
Now, their offense will be the thing that holds them back and costs them because they're not at the defense's level.
Yeah.
But if I was looking in the playoffs and I go, who do I not want to face for 1 week? They would be a team that I'd go, crap. For 1 week, they could wreak havoc on anyone and be a problem. Now, that would be how I would sum up the Jets right now. On any given 1 week, they could be a major problem because if you can't block the front, you can have a game plan blow up before it starts. And the Jets can do that to anyone. And Josh Allen got beat up in that game, and he might miss this week. So they didn't just beat him. They also physically beat him up. And then he got hit when he was trying to throw a deep ball at the end of the game, and he hurt his elbow. So, like, he got hurt in that game. And he's a big boy. And you could tell by the end of that game, he was kind of done getting hit.
Yeah.
And that's a rare statement to say for a 6'5", 250 quarterback who's built like a cast iron. So he was done getting hit that game. He got hit a lot.
No, it's true. And, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The Jets have the 7th ranked defense right now. So they are, they're playing some good ball, and something that we've never really
from 32nd last year.
And something we've never seen out of the Jets. They're actually number 2 in the league in interceptions this year.
Interceptions, because Gardner has been tested. They have, like, people have tried to throw on the Jets, rightfully so, because you know why? They are hard to run on because the middle is always clogged. You can't run up the middle on the Jets typically. So you got to get outside on the Jets. Now, here's the Jets' weakness on defense. Their linebackers, led by Mosley, great quantity tacklers. They cannot cover running backs in space. They're slow.
No.
So if you want to hit the weakness, and that's, by the way, what the Pats did against them and beat them. They put running backs in motion. Linebackers were slow to get to them. and they turned a lot of 2-yard catches into 10-yard first downs.
Right.
So they need to figure that out, but they're dangerous. They're a dangerous, fun team. I said that was my best case scenario, would be they'd be like a dangerous, fun team. They kind of are.
Yeah, they are. They are. And
Which
okay,
is cool.
and lastly, I want to talk about Tyreek Hill really quickly. Through 9 games, the guy has 76 receptions, 1,104 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's on pace for 144 receptions, 2,085 yards. The record in a season is Michael Thomas at 149 catches and Calvin Johnson at 1,964 yards. Now, granted, he's going to have an extra game, but does this guy take down both of those records this year?
I think he splits it. I think he gets one of them. I think he gets receptions.
You think he's going to get the receptions, not get the yards?
Yeah, I think it's going to be close. I think he's going to win the MVP of the NFL.
Yeah, he's having a phenomenal season.
I think he's really going to win the NFL MVP. I don't know how often wide receivers win it, but I think he's going to win it.
And good for, not even good for him, good for Tua, because Tua's up for a contract after this year, and he's looking to get some big money. So good for him. So let's run into our Phil's game ball, and I got 3 people, although one of them kind of stands out. Quarterback, your man, your favorite quarterback from Alabama, Tua, 21 for 30, 302 yards, 3 touchdowns, QB rating of 135.7 in a 35-32 win at Chicago. So pretty good. Joe Mixon, 22 carries, 153 yards, and 4 touchdowns, and then 4 receptions, 58 yards, and another touchdown. My man scored 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns. And then you got Tyreek Hill, always 7 receptions, 143 yards, and 1 touchdown in again.
Can we just give it to Mixon? 5 TDs.
Right, 5 TDs is just
5 TDs is like high school football stuff.
Yeah, and wasn't he the one that pushed somebody out of a truck and killed them when he was in college? Wasn't that Joe Mixon, or was he a wife beater?
No, I think he punched his girlfriend.
Okay, all right. Well, whatever it was, he's a quality guy.
He didn't kill anybody, but I think he punched someone.
Okay, well then that makes it okay. That makes it okay. All right. Fill up your bank account, man. Pressure last week. You did well. 3-1, 1-0 in your lock. You're 16-13, 5-3 in your lock of the week. You're moving in the right direction. Phil, can you lead us? You disappeared on us, but can you lead us to the promised land?
16-13. I was just kind of questioning that, but I guess you're right. Yeah. 16-13, 5-3. Okay, that's cool. I actually didn't. I missed a week when I was doing the thing, so I was going to say I was 14-11, but I'm 16.
Yeah, no, you had a very impressive week last week. Very impressive.
So here we go. No, good week. Trying to build on it. Had to dig my way out of an 0-3 start. Been digging ever since, but finally got 3 over now, which is pretty good.
That's
true. Here we go. That's true. First game. I'm actually going to stick to the Thursday game. I got a good feeling about this game. I feel like after they made a bunch of those trades, the Panthers, they had this band together moment where they were like, everybody says we're going to be the worst team now, and they gave like a couple of big efforts in a couple of games where they surprised, they beat the Bucks, they played someone else close, whatever they did. Then they got the doors blown off them in Cincinnati, and I think this is now the end of the Panthers again. Like, I think that the lack of talent now sets back in, and I don't think the Falcons are any big deal. But when you get a better team, only 2.5 points favored, I don't care that the game's on the road. It's in their backyard. It's Georgia to North Carolina. I mean, like, come on. I'm going to take the Falcons laying 2.5. There's no real travel here.
No.
So I'm going to take the better team laying 2.5.
Okay.
Next game, while I'm going Thursday, now I'm going to go to Germany, apparently, where at Allianz Arena, where the Seahawks and Bucks play in Germany. So Tom Brady gets to go see if he could snag a German broad after his divorce. And I don't want to overly have like bias against the Seahawks because they're having an amazing year.
Yeah.
I just feel like the Bucks are laying 2.5 here. I just feel like they still going to make the playoffs, and they're still going to win a bad division. And they did so bad for a while that they're going to get momentum off that really, it was another disaster last week. And then he pulled them out of the frying pan and beat the Rams at the end. Like, he pulled them out of a loss in 50 seconds. They scored a touchdown to beat the Rams at the end when they did nothing all game. Cost me a game, by the way. I think we had our picks. We lost that game, but I think the Bucks have a little rejuvenation now, and they kind of figure out how to beat, still what I believe to be an average Seahawks team.
Yeah.
Next game.
Let me just ask you a real quick question before you go on. Now, when Tom Brady's when he picks up a German girl, what are some things that she might say to him?
I think it's going to be something like, it's not going to be Tom, Tom, Tom. Do not talk to that chick, Tom. Do not do it, Tom. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be a different voice. It's going to sound angry though, like that. So it's going to be similar.
I guess German accents aren't really your thing.
No, I don't know how to pull a German. I don't even know what to do with an American German sounding. I don't know. It'll sound angry.
All right. So what do we got for our third game here?
So I picked 4 as well here, but the third game, again, I'm all over the Eagles, Super Bowl pick, yada, 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 whatever. I like the Eagles a lot. I picked against them last week at Houston. They were huge favorites. They did not cover. I'm going down that road again, except this is a Monday night game. And yes, the Eagles are home, but it's still a division rival. And I think 11 is a little too much in this game. The Commanders have a pretty good defense. I think they hang around. I also just think it's hard to win every single week in the NFL. Like the Eagles are 8-0, and I picked them to win the Super Bowl. And now I'm kind of annoyed because I thought they'd get there being like kind of under the radar. And now they're going to go into the damn NFC playoffs as like the heavy favorite, which annoys me. But, I'm going to take the Commanders plus 11.
Okay.
I just think a little too much. And then I am going to go the other way with another big spread and take the heavy favorite. And this is a game where I think, again, the Jaguars have been a little scrappy. This is my best bet. They've been a little scrappy. Every other week, they kind of play a team closer than you think, and then they get blown out of some games, right? So they're kind of like a little bit what you think of as second-year quarterback, not a ton of talent on the team. They come up and play a couple good weeks, and then they play a couple bad weeks. They're in over their head here. They're in Kansas City. They're not home. They're in Kansas City. It'll probably be cold.
Yep.
Mahomes has been awesome this year. And this is 9.5 to me now is just not enough. Like I think they could lay more. So I'm going to take 9.5. They're my best bet and probably feel as good about this best bet as I felt about an NFL best bet in a long time. I just think they're just going to beat them pretty comfortably. So that's my other pick. So it's Falcons Thursday night, Bucks in Germany, Commanders on Monday night, and then the Chiefs. I only picked one like traditional 1:00 football game this week. I got all types of weird games I picked, but those are the ones I liked.
That's all right. Well, the one thing that you have to remember about Jacksonville is they are still without their defensive end, Jeremiah Ledbetter. And that might make a big difference because let's see, he played 16 games in 2017, 1 game in 2018, 3 games in 2020. I don't think he's played a game since, and he's still injured. So this could actually hurt them because they were really hoping to get him back.
When you don't have Ledbetter and now you don't have Urban Meyer, things get tricky, but they're hanging in there.
so
the legend of Urban, not so much of a legend. The team got way better when he left. So
listen. I always think you have good picks. This week is no exception. I think like always, I think you're going 4-0. Matter of fact, I think you're going to go undefeated in all your picks that we make.
I feel confident. You always ask me what I would bet on this game. What I'm betting on this game is a nice 3-day getaway with the wife.
Oh, wow.
So instead of booking that Airbnb in that nice warm place, get out of the Northeast in the winter. This is for my Northeast audience, not for you down in Georgia. What does that cost you? 3 nights in an Airbnb, a flight, probably a couple grand. Let's throw it. Say, hold on, wife. I got to bet Phil's picks before we go on the Airbnb. Right, and then you have double the money.
Well, let me ask you a question. So is this a 3-day jaunt to Hawaii, or are you talking about 3 days?
No, it's just like if you're in Jersey, this is like a 3-night in like Charleston.
Okay. All right.
A puddle jump a flight, maybe you pay $200 a piece for a flight, 3 nights in a nice place near the water, another $250 a night. You're in $1,500 with meals, maybe $1,800.
Okay. All right. So it's
under $2,000. You do this 3 nights away for under $2,000.
So if you
go to a nice place.
So if you're going to come down to Charleston, you might as well just keep going and come to Atlanta. It's not that much further.
I mean, I think I like Charleston better than Atlanta, but that's now. If you said Savannah, maybe I go to Savannah. If you meet me in Savannah,
Savannah's 4 hours for me. It's too far.
Okay, what the hell? I'm coming from Jersey. You won't meet your podcast buddy 4 hours away?
I'd prefer to, but that's just.
What are we doing in Atlanta? You going to take me to a Falcon game? What are we going to do there?
You're going to take me to a Falcon game. Why
What
am
are
I
we doing in Atlanta? Atlanta doesn't appeal to me. I've been there many times. It's not overly appealing. I got to tell you.
Anyway, I wanted to end the podcast with one quick feel good story, and that is the IMG football team, which is ranked number 10 in the country among high school football teams.
Always good. Yep.
They faced West Toronto Prep. Okay, so for one, it's a football team in Canada, which tells you all you need to know right there. Two, they're 0-5 on the season, so they're not really.
This isn't ending well. Why didn't they cancel this game? Don't even tell me the rest of the story. Why did they fly there?
Well, they did cancel the game at halftime.
Oh gosh, 75-0.
No, dude, you're so off. It was actually 96-0.
Yikes! Yeah, I knew that story wasn't going to end well.
It ended very well for the IMG fan base.
What does IMG get out of playing that game? Why wouldn't IMG say, you know what, let's just do a scrimmage and we'll play a couple quarters? Like, we don't need to play a real game.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. That's, again, it's even extending into the high school ranks. Why do you play that game? What's the point? You're up 96-0 at halftime. How is that
Who's
even
the AD though for this West Toronto team that's booking a game against IMG?
I mean, literally, I will bet you the legless blind girls of the sister school of East Toronto Prep could have put up a better fight than this. Just saying.
That's really rough, dude.
Just saying.
Well, 96-0. You always see those like girls basketball scores where the team wins like 126-4.
Yeah.
And you're like, come on, dude, 126-4, but 96-0 at half.
At halftime,
they could have put 2 bills on them.
I mean, literally, that's like every time they got the ball, they just immediately scored.
It's by the way, the reason you don't play that game is I'm sure IMG's 4th stringers could score pretty quickly on that team.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So there was no way for them to keep the score down. It was probably like impossible.
I mean, it would have been like NFL
someone should get fired for that. Someone should get fired for scheduling that game.
Think about it. Doesn't one of your sons play football?
He plays flag now. Well, both of them played flag football this year.
Okay, so they play flag. Imagine them going up against an NFL team.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. By the way, my older son, so he played in a competitive flag football league. I don't tell you anything about his youth seasons this year, but it's funny that you said that. They won the Super Bowl, the flag Super Bowl, 49-8.
Nice. The flag Super Bowl.
I say that because to my viewing eyes, that was a complete blowout, and like they were so much better than the team they played.
Yeah.
96-0 at halftime. What could that have looked like?
I know, right?
What could that have looked like? Like, I mean, they had to be 300-pound linemen matching up with 200-pound offensive linemen. Like, that's what I envision in my head.
Yeah. There's no doubt. Yikes. There's no doubt. Well, anyway, I do want to end with one more story. That is Virginia Tech linebacker Alan Tisdale suspended by the NCAA for 6 games because he bet on the NBA Finals last year. Legally in the state of Virginia.
Yikes. Is it because he's I don't know.
Broken.
Why did that happen?
Something's broken. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's legal to do that in the state of Virginia. He did it, and he got suspended for 6 games. I got nothing. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Anyway, good episode, Phil, man. A lot of good banter back and forth, man.
A lot of banter.
We're gonna have to figure out the right definition for a dynasty because in your opinion, I'm right and you're wrong. So,
hey, drop a comment. Let us know when you watch this. Are the Astros a dynasty? Do we think it's the Giants for their 3 rings? Is it whatever? Let's hear what people think.
It's a great question.
Do you think like Darrin, you can just name anything's a dynasty and then say, well, it's not a dynasty of baseball. It's a dynasty of the National League East. A dumbass definition. Let us know what you think, people.
Man, the name calling is out of control today. Well, guys, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. We had a great time today. Hope you have a good weekend, good football, college football, NFL. If you like us, keep watching us. If you don't, keep watching us. Maybe we'll get better. We'll grow.
Please watch us anyway.
But take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
See you guys.